So it's really interesting to me what's happening in America at the moment. And this is actually, you guys know that I consume US politics like water. In fact, probably more than I should be drinking water. But I haven't really paid a lot of attention in the last couple of weeks. That's one of the things I haven't really been keeping an eye on. But hearing bits and pieces here and there about what Trump's been doing and saying, especially about Gaza, there's a real backlash at the moment from people who voted for Trump specifically because they were unhappy with what Biden hadn't done for Gaza, are now starting to regret those votes pretty massively, saying he wants to turn it into a fucking hotel.
Days before the last presidential election, Donald Trump was the invited guest at the Great Commoner restaurant in Dearborn, Michigan. Albert Abbas says he extended that invitation, a decision he is now reflecting on, given all that has happened in the last 24 hours.
Many in the community are at a loss for words. Last night was a very rough night.
This is normally Eames, whether it's New Zealand or America. We go, we told you. We knew. How could you guys not?
For most of us.
Abbas is Arab American and one of a number of Democrats who voted for Trump. Abbas says he hoped Trump would do more than President Joe Biden did to help Palestinians suffering in Gaza.
The U.S. will take over.
Well, he probably is going to do more than Biden. Biden did nothing. His more is he's going to clear them out. So technically, that is more.
Joe Biden did to help Palestinians suffering in Gaza.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip.
But after Trump said Palestinians should leave Gaza so it can be redeveloped, Abbas says not only does he feel betrayed, he's hearing from a number of people angered over his past support of Trump.
People were really, really frustrated. And I don't think there's anyone to blame. At the end of the day, as Arab Americans or Muslims, we really didn't have much of a choice.
Well, that's utter horseshit, because anyone with an ounce of sense told you who they could do. So we're seeing it more and more and more. Pro-Trump Arab American group changes its name after the president's Gaza. So he said, we could turn this into the Riviera of the Middle East. That's the thing. So they've changed their name from, I think it was Arabs for Trump to Arabs for Peace or something like that. The talk about what the president wants to do to Gaza, obviously we're completely opposed to the idea and transfer of Palestinians from anywhere in historic Palestine, the guy said. We also did not want to be behind the curve in terms of pushing for peace, because it's been our objective since the very beginning. It goes on. You're also getting Americans. So there's the Arab Americans who are getting pretty pissy about that. But you're also getting some pretty hardcore MAGA guys who are pissy about it, because how is this America first, which was the test, you know? Trump, you're being a fucking idiot if you think, this is a tweet, by the way, if you think America should own the Gaza Strip, stop with your gibberish bullshit, take care of America, because that's why we voted for you, not this owning the world bullshit. Trump has said the US will take over the Gaza Strip. What about America first? Etc., etc., etc. So some of the hardcore hardliners are pretty pissy about it as well. And then this is a 20-minute long video of just people who voted for Trump.
I was a dumbass, voted for Trump. It was the worst.
Just quietly, that's the accent you expect, eh? Someone who voted, that's the accent, eh? I was a dumbass who voted for Trump, but...
Decision I ever made.
I've seen the light, and I got out of MAGA. A lot of us there have seen the light. We have deep regrets.
I feel guilty.
You know, anywhere. I mean, I'll just jump to, 7.5 minutes.
Christmas bonuses because of the tariffs, because your employers are going to need, since you voted for Trump there, you're finding out that you may not get your Christmas bonuses because...
All the way through.
What was happening? She's like, he's talking about getting rid of VA hospitals. He's getting rid of possibly disability for veterans, or putting a 10-year max cap on that.
Anyway, it goes on and on and on and on and on. And you're also finding people, there's this pretty horrific woman in America called Riley Gaines. She's a swimmer who is now, doing everything she can. She's very anti-trans in the community. Her husband is English, and he was going to get denied a visa under Trump's regulation. So you've got this massive MAGA, pusher. That's kind of worked its way out for them, but it only worked its way out because the Trump White House got involved. So for all the other people who don't have the profile, who have an English husband, gone under the conditions that her husband hadn't got to the right criteria to get through. So there's a whole bunch of this going on, and the regret is very, very real. Emily.
Yeah. It's a real slap in the face. I'm always torn between feeling bad for them and kind of like I told you so, because I think they were swindled. They know they were swindled, and they were promised things, and it was the way that they said things, and it's the undereducation around the political speak, and it's undereducation of what it actually means to deport millions of immigrants, and what he means by an immigrant. And he sees they're criminal immigrants, but he actually can't, in order to do what he wants to do in a sweeping mass pace, he can't just go pick and choose and go through the legal system. He's literally going to pick them all up, throw them on a plane, and send them off without actually realizing some of the people he's picking up in that giant fishnet are legal.
Well, yeah, well, there's been lots of examples.
Your mother, your brother, your local shop owner, that sort of shit.
There's been lots of examples of business owners in certain areas realizing one of their other business owners who's been there for 20 years, who's Hispanic, is getting deported. And they're like, we voted for Trump, but literally saying this, but this is one of the good ones. So you don't get to pick between the good ones and the bad ones. They're all going. But you say you feel sorry for them. I'll be honest. I struggle to feel sorry for them, but there's a reason for that. It's that old adage of fool me once. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. He's done this before. He's been in. How can people get fooled again? So I struggle to feel sorry for those people. It's a little bit like when you get that disinformation loop. I do often feel sorry for the people at the bottom but not the people who are spreading the disinformation. But this time, you've had 4 years of this, kids. You know, you've seen this. Fool me twice. It's shame on you. It's absolutely shame on you.
Yep, that's what I mean. I'm always conflicted. I don't want to give them that grace, but I also can understand the ignorance of being uneducated in the specifics around this, and it's easy to be fooled when you're just don't have the access to that kind of Where I think for me it's easy from our side because we have the education and we understand it, and we understand the broader picture, and we understand that he is going to just do the 2025 playbook, Project 2025 playbook.
Yeah.
But they just don't understand that, and I feel bad for them because they don't understand it. They don't have the education to understand what it means. So I'm always conflicted because I'm like, yeah, told you so, but also, like you say, fool me once, fool me twice, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, the probably the people I feel sorriest for are the ones that can get caught up in it. Like, there are going to be obviously people deported who shouldn't be, people who live in there 20, 30, 40 years, whatever, who shouldn't be, who are now citizens. You know, I mean, no one's going to say, could you get rid of this criminal element that are here illegally? No one's going to say that shouldn't happen, right? Because we would do it here. If you come from Australia to here, you break a law and stuff, then you'll do your time and you'll be sent home. It's the way the countries work. But if you come from Australia to here and you work for 20 years and you pay your taxes and you're a good upstanding member of society and you help things out and you've got kids in school, and then a government goes, well, you haven't ticked the box here. You've missed one box out of 14, so you're out of here. That's what I feel sorry for. If the innocents get caught up in it, even if those innocents are technically part of the people breaking the rules, them, not the ones who have voted to choose to be fooled for a second time, voted for the man.
Speaking of, thanks for
Yep.
segueing.
Pleasure.
I think this is one of the, so this is the Midas Touch network, Midas Touch, CBS commentary on someone who is pro-Palestine, I believe, but voted for Trump. And this is interesting because she doesn't, he comments that she doesn't sound uneducated. She sounds very articulate. So it is one of those things that China just negates my whole argument. But we'll have it.
Could not stop the carnage that's happening in Gaza.
If you were to give President Trump a grade for how he's handling Gaza, Middle East, what would it be?
I would say like a C plus.
College senior Sarah Shaban voted for Trump. She says she gasped when she saw his remarks.
I was disappointed, but I also wasn't surprised. But I would say that I kind of find it hard to believe that he would actually implement what he's saying.
Did you regret voting for him?
A little bit.
Now, folks, you're going to have to explain to me, is this brain rot? Is this brain mush? I mean, when she articulates what she's saying, I'm not talking about the illogic, but she would seem to otherwise be an intelligent person. But when it comes to these issues, is she in the rage algorithm so much that she can't get out and she just doesn't believe his words? What is this mental thing where he says it, then does it, and then people still go, oh, he didn't mean it, and I'm still going to support it. But then you actually go and look at what Vice President Kamala Harris was saying on the campaign trail. I just want to remind you, she was saying ceasefire, two-state solution, humanitarian aid. We need to help Palestinians. Palestinians have not been treated well. We need to do something. Let me just show you this. This was Vice President Kamala.
Yeah, which all of those things are accurate. That's what was said. Whether or not she was actually going to implement it, and whether or not that was good enough for a lot of people that were pro-Palestine and didn't think that was good enough, in some respects, which is why some of them didn't even vote. She's one of those people that, even what she's saying, she seems articulate. The person they interviewed, she seems articulate. She still gives him a C plus, and does she regret? A little bit. Really hard to make me feel empathetic, but there are people that are slightly different than that who just, completely gaslit.
On that idea of fuck around and find out, I put a tweet out, and I think this might be becoming a t-shirt as well. I might have to check with the Greens. But when listening to Chloe in that panel that you showed a part of, she said something which was, if you don't, people go, oh, I don't do politics. She said, if you don't do politics, politics will do you. And I think it was a really interesting thing, because it's like, if you choose not to engage, if you choose not to actually find the answers you need to vote, then you're going to get done. And this kind of leads back to what I was talking about before, talking about the thing to show you difference between Twitter and Blue Sky, because that was a quote I put up. Right, I put up, if you don't do politics, politics will do you. Close Warbrick Waitangi 2025. And the people in this thread think they are doing politics, but they're not, because at the moment, politics is doing them. They don't get it, whether it's through obstinance and they're just so tribal, whatever my team does wins, but they don't get it. And you can just see this is, I've got 2.5 times the followers on Twitter to Blue Sky, so it's more, but you can just see, yuck, she's a legend in her own undies, how insightful. C is for Cookie, that was good enough for me, Cookie Monster. This is true, and then the result, it goes on and 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 on of bullshit and hate. And then over on Blue Sky, same thing. Politics doesn't discriminate very well. If you do politics, it'll still do you. You need to have bags of money to avoid getting done. Part. That's probably supposed to be Pat. The antithesis of the economic trickle-down theory. See, just the tone of it, it's actually smart. People are actually talking about it. The antithesis of the economic trickle-down theory is the actual real long-term consequences of having an increasing proportion of the population precariat and below the poverty line. Eventually, no amount of wealth will be capable of insulating someone from the resulting risks as society collapses. Chloe has it all. The mic drops in the same way that Luxon can't even find the mic this year at Waitangi. Observe, soak up the experience. Next week at Waitangi, participate in the forums. Got a taste for it now. This is from Gary. We saw Gary there. A BHN stall in the thick of it will be what you're up to, and someone else spot on. I really like that theme. It's a little bit like we had last election. If the left don't vote, the left loses. The left votes, the left wins. It's time to, there was a lot of talk at Waitangi about activation. We've talked for a long time. We've talked about all these sorts of things. We've let our voices be heard. Now it's time to activate. And I think that's going to be a catch cry for 2025 for a lot of people. Ems?
Yeah. I think we talked about this last week, because I was I was talking with someone who's probably in their 40s, has 2 kids about school age or under school age, just going to school now. And I was talking about how I was interviewing Barbara Edmonds and Duncan Webb, and then I was showing photos of you and Waitangi, and she just blank face at every single person, including Chris Hipkins, as to who they were. And I was like, okay, you should probably pay a bit more attention to politics. She's like, nah, I'm good. But she's in a position where she is one of those squeezed middle, but she's high enough in that squeezed middle that realistically a lot of it doesn't actually affect her so much. But if she were to be, if one of her kids went to hospital, whatever it is, or, all of that systemic stuff where it's like, I'm having to wait 6 weeks, I'm having to wait 6 months for an appointment, but doesn't actually equate that to what the government are doing by choice. Yeah. She just kind of goes, oh no, our health system is really struggling at the moment. It must be a lag from COVID, but doesn't realize that that's because of National's actions.
Well, I think it's just, the truth is it's systemic, but as everyone's telling us, Gary Pinder, get him on if you want. These guys are pouring fuel on it. So you can't lay it all at their feet because this is systemic. I mean, nurse shortages, doctor shortages have been perhaps decades, but the things they're doing now is going to hurt us for decades rather than trying to incrementally and slowly make it better.
Yeah. But I just, it annoys me, and it makes me feel like I'm lost in the source, because obviously it's being the show, you kind of have to be a little bit knee deep in the source in the political space to talk about it, right? But she's also really,
but that's really privileged as well. It's a really privileged place to be, to not have to worry about politics.
Yep.
I mean, hearing someone in the disability sector talking about how things have been cut for them, they don't have the privilege of being able to go, let's just not worry about politics, because politics is doing them. You know what I mean? It's like, as the poster on my Blue Sky said, sometimes even if you do politics will still do you. But it's those people, it's those people who don't have the ability to go, I don't know, it doesn't really affect me, because all it does is affect them. And for people like the person you were talking to, they're our job. Like, it's almost like we need to be the evangelists to, for those who don't know, evangelist is like a religious statement to go out and to tell people about your religion. Like, basically that, we need to show them. If they are someone in the squeeze middle, we need to explain to them why actually the Green Party tax package was exponentially better at the last election than any of the others for that squeezed middle. And it's unfortunately one of those things where sometimes bumper stickers work better than policy. And so it's finding that balance of educating people, with good policy, but also giving them tidbits that they can remember and might impact them in the poll. It's sending them clips of this show. It's sending them conversations or interviews. That's our job, right? That's our activation. We need to educate ourselves and each other, and we're doing this on some level for you guys watching, and you guys use that stuff and go and educate the circle around you. It's like that old Weller advert, and they tell 2 friends, and they tell 2 friends, and so on, and so on, and so on. You're probably too young for the names. But yeah, that's what we got to do. We don't necessarily have to get them to the cut and thrust of, politics as a blood sport, but we need to give them enough to give them the information to then be involved. At least you can lead them to water. I use that saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You can lead someone saying, I don't really do politics. You can lead them to water. They still may not take the drink, but if you've given them the information to lead them to that spot, then at least you've given them the information. Then at least they're making an informed decision not to drink, as opposed to just not drinking because they're going shopping instead or whatever.